65 cut. These are the meaningless ramblings of a Scottish redone whore and a pissy ex-video store clerk. Their ongoing mission is to set right the movie wrongs. They're gonna need a bigger podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 72 of the 365 Flicks podcast. I am your host Kev.
And I am Chris.
The other host.
The other host, yes.
Yeah. And tonight is part 2 of the SFW8 Sci-Fi Weekender, the second half.
Sci-Fi Harder.
Sci-Fi Harder. I like
Sci-Fi
that.
Weekender SFW Harder.
I don't know.
SFW2.
That does sound like a porn. SFW2, I'm alright with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So tonight, this episode is literally some of the interviews that we didn't get a chance to play on the last one because we were focusing on the Redwood review and the interview with Tom and Mike. If you haven't heard that episode, go back into the feed. It is episode 70 and it is the balls.
It's a good interview.
It's a great interview. It's a cracking interview. I actually listened to it again this week. So, yeah. That's neither here nor there. I just did. But we have a few more interviews.
People need to know.
People do need to know.
You're listening
People
to
do
your
need
own
to know.
episodes.
Well, I feel like last time I asked that, were you actually listening to them? And you were all like, oh yeah, I listen to everyone. I'm like, oh, I don't really listen to the finished product that often.
Well, I'm usually texting you when I'm listening to them.
Oh yeah, usually like, oh, well done, Kev. You did a really good editing job there. You are the man.
I don't think I've ever said
You
that.
don't say that. You don't say that. You should, though. Say that.
So who are we all speaking to in episode 72, or SFW2?
SFW Harder.
SFW with a Vengeance.
With a Vengeance.
That's
Oh,
SFW3.
a good day to SFW.
We'll go with that one.
Yep.
That's actually quite a good one.
That's not a bad one. I think that should be, if we go back, when we go back to SFW9, we should just call those episodes that one, the one I just said that I can't actually remember.
A good day to SFW.
Oh, it's gone off the rails already. We will talk about who's coming on the show in a second, but we have to do our pimpage, so I'll hand that bit over to you.
Exciting.
Yeah.
So you can find us on Facebook and Twitter, as always, if you search for 365 Flicks Podcast. You can also have a look on our website, which is www.365flickspodcast.co.uk, and you'll find all sorts of different reviews and what have you on there. We are also on a few cheeky networks. We are on Tangent Bound Network, Wicked Radio Network, We Be Geeks, and of course our British home nerdly.co.uk. You can also find us on the Twitters if you look for hashtag #PodernFamily.
Yeah, along with everybody else.
Exactly. You're already listening to the show, so we're assuming that you found us on iTunes or Stitcher or Satchel or any of the other podcasty apps that are out there. We are everywhere. We're like shit any goddamn field.
You know what I'm going to do when I get home? I'm going to cut that little bit out and we're going to use that from now on.
Just copy and paste.
Yep. Copy and paste.
Was that good?
It was alright. I mean, it could do with work, but it was alright. It was almost like ABC, you know? You were almost closing everything there. But yes, so tonight's episode, SFW Part 2, episode 72, we have got 5 interviews? Oh my god, 5 interviews. That's a lot to put in one episode.
That we should do SFW3.
What would you call that one? We'd have to come up with something really good for that one.
Just when you thought it was safe to SFW.
Oh my god. They write themselves.
They do, don't they?
They do. So yeah, tonight we have got the pop-up puppet cinema, guys.
You struggle with that, don't you?
I really do.
Yeah.
I really do. I didn't do too bad when we spoke to them, though. We didn't get to speak to these guys at the show. We saw both of their shows, both nights. So really we saw like 4 shows both nights. And they were fantastic. They did Back to the Future when we were there, and they did Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. They were fantastic. We didn't get a chance to speak to them. We had a little bit of trouble with phone signal and what have you.
Yeah.
We ran out of time.
I think everybody did that weekend. It's just par for the course.
So we made a point of going up to see the guys on the last night and sort of like, guys, we're getting you on. We're going to get you on the Skype. You're coming on the show. We're going to speak to you. So the first episode that you will be hearing now in a minute is the pop-up cinema puppet guys. Fucking asshole. Why do I...
Pop-up puppet cinema.
Yep.
Right. Go with that. We'll go with that.
Pop-Up Puppet Cinema, and it's a great little interview. I really enjoyed talking to them, and I would like to get them back on again, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see their Jaws.
Yeah, you do want to see the
Show as
Jaws.
well.
Which I never realised how much you were going on about that on the night, but then when I edited, I was like, yeah, you really, really do want to see that show.
Did I harp on?
Yeah, you harped on a little bit.
Well, it's Jaws, isn't it?
Now, the interview is a cool 20-odd minutes. Strap in. It's a good one, because the guys they're really good at what they do. You need to hear about what they do. And they give you some dates and some locations for where you can go and see them, and we think you should. After that interview, we will be coming back for a little bit of crack, and then we have some Doctor Who interviews, and we have an amazing interview with just a fantastic author, who that interview is brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she is all kinds of crazy fun. And I really enjoyed speaking to her.
Well, I started the interview by having a go at her.
Yeah, you did. You had beef. You had beef, to be fair.
Threatening to scratch her eyes out and that, you know.
How dare you, supervised Andrew?
Bitch.
I'm so glad you didn't call her that.
There are better ways to start an interview, if anything.
I think the interview would have ended.
Yeah.
But yeah, that lady is Sam Stone, who has a lot to do with Sci-Fi Weekender, and she's got a lot of work out there. She will name a few for you to check out. So we will get to that in a little bit. But first of all, here is the Pop-Up Puppet Cinema, guys.
Well done.
Yes!
I think we're just about there.
Yay! Windows 10 by any chance?
So yeah.
Yeah, shocker.
Every time we have problems with Skype calls and connecting calls, it's always Windows 10.
Goddamn Windows 10.
Yeah, man. First of all, fantastic show, by the way. We caught you at Sci-Fi Weekend. I'm sorry we couldn't get to you. The phone signal and the Wi-Fi signal.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Yeah.
Well, we were all struggling, but thank you very much. Glad you enjoyed it.
Oh,
Yeah,
we loved it.
We did, yeah. I mean, it's why I reached out to you guys before we even got there on the couple of days beforehand. It was like, as soon as I saw that what you guys did, I was like, yeah, I need to see these guys and I need to speak to them. What we're doing, guys? This was our first year at Sci-Fi Weekender, and they were awesome enough to give us press passes and to bring us along and cover the event. So we've already done a part 1 podcast, which mainly focused on the movie that got premiered, the Redwood movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the second half is more of encompassing everything that was going on. So we wanted to speak to you guys. We're going to be speaking to Sam Stone a little bit later on. We did a few interviews while we were there with some of the Doctor Who guys, just try and get a gist of everything that went on and sort of give some more coverage for the event.
Have we started yet, or is this the preamble?
It's recording, but this is just the preamble, just to introduce.
Okay.
So, do you want to start off?
Yeah, well, the first one I wanted to ask you guys about was we were looking on your website before, and we saw the Jaws, the Jaws puppets, and they were great. So, is that one that you still do, or
yes?
Right, because the Chief Brody one was amazing.
You liked that, didn't you?
I did like that one.
Big Jaws fan.
Oh, good.
So, how do you choose then? How do you choose what movies you're going to do?
Popularity, isn't it?
Yeah.
You want to pick something that is so familiar to everyone that even if they've not seen it, it's so infused in popular culture that they kind of know what's going on.
Yeah.
So that we make jokes about it in the show, that they get it. So you kind of relying a lot on that familiarity, which obviously you have with Jaws and Raiders and Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I loved about the Back to the Future one, with the Raiders as well, but more the Back to the Future was the self-referential, like it's foreshadowing Marty and all that. I loved all
It's
that.
signs, Marty.
Yeah, it's great, you guys. I'm glad you liked that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's great.
So
it's a funny one because Back to the Future, I think, now that we've done, especially doing both shows at the weekend,
yeah,
Back to the Future seems to have more of those moments anyway, and more of those quotable lines that everyone remembers. But we have performed Raiders before. I remember there's when we performed at Kendall Calling, there was a kid in the audience that came up, never seen Raiders of the Lost Ark before.
Yeah, it was lovely.
I absolutely loved the puppet show. Who's this Indiana Jones guy?
Yeah, I love the idea that someone saw our silly puppet show and then a kid got addicted to Raiders afterwards.
That's pretty badass. That's what you want, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So for the listeners at home, we mentioned on the last Sci-Fi Weekend part 1 that we did a little bit of coverage of, that we saw the pop-up puppet cinema guys, which I could not get my words out. It's a lot harder to say when you think, because we do have a little bit of a drink while we're recording, so...
Yeah.
And by that point, it was like pop-up. It just wasn't coming out. But yeah, it's Pop-Up Puppet Cinema. What we like to do is to put the onus on you guys when we talk to anybody who comes on. And why don't you tell the listener exactly what it is that you guys do?
Well, what we do is take films that we genuinely love and that we hope quite a lot of people love, and we condense them down to between 15 and 20 minutes. And we like to sort of exploit two aspects. One in the script, where we try and make jokes and try and sometimes reference things that maybe don't make quite full sense in the film, but you let it go because you love the film anyway.
Yeah. And
the other thing is whenever you got a set piece, try to engage the audience in that way, in the sense of they might go, well, how on earth are they going to do that? And then you kind of try and pull a rabbit out of the hat and do something strange or unusual. You produce a load of party horns for snakes and that type of thing. And yeah, that's what we try and do. I like the idea that the audience has a moment of course that's what you do. Yes, yeah, of course you'd use party poppers and party horns and that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly a spoiler for the show or anything, because it's puppets and you've seen Raiders, but the bit at the end when the guy goes into the plane and you throw the confetti over the top, that was genius. that was actually a genius moment, and I was like, yeah, bravo.
The boulder bit as well, when you threw the boulder into the ball, I guess, into the crowd.
Yeah,
that was great.
I mean,
we tend to sort of, when we pick a film, I think we tend to start by saying what are the bits that everyone remembers and what would you be expecting to see, and then it allows you to sort of certainly we do this in Back to the Future, we just jump in from one to the other without worrying too much about the story, because everyone knows the story.
Yeah, I mean, it carries it along, but nobody's ever come up to us and gone, oh, where's the skateboard scene, for example?
Yeah.
It's amazing that you can sort of get carried away and abbreviate it.
Well, now they will, yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe now they will, but so far they haven't.
Yeah, you're right. It is one of those things like, what scenes do you pick? Because you're doing these iconic movies that everybody knows and loves, and they want to see their favourite bits. So it is quite a tricky art to pull off, I would say.
I think you did it well. I'm sure it was the Raiders one, actually. You made a reference to one of the famous scenes that you hadn't done.
Cut that out.
But yeah, well, we just skipped past that one.
Was it the
dates?
Yeah, the Nazi monkey.
Bad dates.
We've not had time to bond because they cut those scenes out. Honestly, lads, from the both of us, we thoroughly enjoyed what you guys did. We came both nights and watched both shows both nights, because it was genuinely just great. I enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, we love doing it, and one of the things that I guess we can't help ourselves is we keep adding bits. So if we think of anything, which I think you'll have experienced at the weekend, because the shows was only a tiny bit, but we'd added stuff for the Saturday just to try it out and see if the audience liked it. And we always like to sort of see what goes down well, and the show evolves, obviously, the more feedback you get.
Well, John here missed most of the event because he was backstage making the Daily Mail for the second night of Raiders.
Yeah, that was great. Nice little touch there. I think you missed that, and I had to tell you about it. Yeah, you were kind of looking to the side, and I was like, okay, you just missed possibly the best joke of the night.
Was that the first night or the second night?
The second night.
Right. I can't remember.
But like, one thing that I was wondering, because obviously we can't see you guys, because the whole concept is that we're not supposed to. It's all puppets. How do you do the voices on the night, or is it pre-recorded? Sort of.
It's pre-recorded.
Or is that pulling back the curtain too much?
A little bit, but no.
Sorry.
Basically, one of the aspects that we like to keep are things like the music and sound effects.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that timing-wise is just to pre-record the whole show. And the second reason for doing that is that if you see back, like if you were to step back and watch us behind there, swapping puppets all the time. So like for Back to the Future, there's 3 different Doc puppets, for example, and each one of us is performing at a different time. So to do the voice for a puppet that you're not performing, or for us to enable us to do that, basically we pre-record.
Yeah, because all I was going to say is that one of you does a cracking Karen Allen impression.
Yes, that's
Jen.
That's our friend Jen. Yeah,
Jenny May Morgan, who we should give a shout out to.
Nice one.
She's gracious enough to lend her voice to all of our female characters and some male characters as well. She's actually a professional actor, unlike the rest of us, where we just do daft accents.
To say that we promised her we will do Aliens so that she can actually have a role that isn't a bit part or supporting part, so that she can actually lead.
So on that, what movies have you done so far, and what movies do you really want to do?
Well, we started off with Back to the Future, then Raiders. We then did Jaws. We did Forbidden Planet for Shakespeare. That was for Bard by the Beach in Morecambe. So that was for a Shakespeare festival. So obviously Forbidden Planet's based on The Tempest, and that gave us an excuse to put some really terrible, dry Shakespearean puns in. We positively encourage the audience to boo whenever they heard a terrible pun. And then for a convention, we were commissioned to do Flash Gordon.
Nice.
And it's, in terms of technical aspects, it's probably our most ambitious in terms of sheer volume.
Yeah, we ended up. We have 30 puppets in Flash Gordon show.
Jeez.
And it's quite intense to perform. But the first time we performed it, the actor that played Flash Gordon, Sam Jones, was there and came to see us.
Well, it was Peter Duncan, wasn't it?
Oh, Peter Duncan came to see us and went and got Sam, didn't he?
Peter Duncan came to see us. There's an entire scene that sort of is jokes kind of about Peter Duncan, really. We got like you're looking a little blue, Peter, that type of thing in there. So he's in the audience, and I believe he told us afterwards, he said to one of the, I don't want to call them a gopher, but that's basically their job, to look after the guests. But he said to him, "This is all right. Go get them." So Sam Jones and Melody Anderson wandered in. We couldn't see them, and by pure coincidence, Sam wandered in on the line. "What do you mean, Flash Gordon approaches?" And then Sam J. Jones walked in. There's people cheering. We have no idea because we can't see. We're like, "Oh, that's an odd line for them to like." And nobody believed it wasn't set up afterwards. Yeah. And then Die Hard. So we did Die Hard last December. Yeah, it was a bit of an epic.
Yeah, it was a longer show, that one, because we didn't really have time to rehearse it fully and make the cuts that we normally do. Because one of the aspects of it is trying to condense the shows so that they are like a funny 20-minute thing about a long half hour of puppetry. Which I ended up being. So we are going to revise that and bring it back at some point.
Oh, I can see that. So who does the best Hans Gruber voice then?
Oh, you did Hans Gruber. Yeah.
I will count to 3. There will not be a 4. So that's everything. Getting to do Blessed's voice was a joy for Flash, because that's so and trying to do him quiet is really difficult. So you just have to keep, and then eventually he goes, "Well, hail me," and it was all right. And then one show we'd like to do is Aliens. Yeah. I think we could have a lot of fun with that. And then the most horror-based one that we might be doing this year, hopefully we'll be doing this year, is John Carpenter's The Thing, which we're massive fans of. And there's lots of room for lunacy in that one.
Yeah, definitely.
puppets exploding in all directions and
one that's constantly in the back of our minds as well is obviously Star Wars. But that sort of presents its own problems because of the number of times it's already been parodied and done in different ways. So it's finding a place for us to do that, and to figure out how to do it. But I think that would be a good one to do, definitely.
Oh god, yeah.
Obviously.
But it's also huge. I mean, you got to, if you're doing Star Wars, you can't go, there was an attack on the Death Star, but we haven't got enough puppeteers to do it.
That's what I was going to say. How are you going to do the Death Star exploding?
Yeah, no idea. Maybe I'll paint that grey ball from Raiders and just chuck it at the audience.
Just get a balloon.
That would work.
Balloon, yeah.
So you guys were at Sci-Fi Weekender, but I've seen on your Facebook that you were at Scarborough just this weekend past.
Yeah.
And you're at Manchester in a couple of weeks' time?
Yeah, so on the 3rd of May, we're doing a fundraiser in Manchester for so Jenny Morgan, who provides all the female voices for our show. Mm-hmm. She has a show of her own called Pamela de Month. So Pamela de Month is an erotica author who does a stand-up comedy show about her latest book. And she's taking it to Edinburgh this year, so we're helping her raise some money to do that. So that's on the 3rd of May at Gulliver's in the Northern Quarter, I think.
It is.
In Manchester.
Yeah.
So we'll be performing our Back to the Future show at that event.
During an erotica show.
Well, we were trying to figure out, there might be some elements of erotica in the show. We'll see what happens there.
Not your mom in the future, Marty.
I love that line. Absolutely love that line. It's science, Marty.
But yeah, you guys are super busy, and I just wondered, sort of, when you go to these conventions and these events, are you having just like the same sort of reception, like, because you got a really good reception both nights at Wales.
Sci-Fi Weekend was fantastic. It was really fun. The audience reception was absolutely amazing.
It was, I think, undoubtedly the best reception that we've had so far.
Oh wow!
I think because one of the things that we do come up against quite often is people not knowing what to expect or not being quite prepared for it. So in some respects, I think the Sci-Fi Weekender, where you've got hundreds of people that are in homemade outfits, they immediately appreciate the homemade puppets that we present to them.
It's pretty much the home crowd, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we did a screening at Gorilla of Back to the Future 2, and oddly they put us on after Back to the Future 2, but that was amazing. That was the audience had just had basically a refresher, and then we went on with it, and they got absolutely everything. So that was a great reception. But yeah, I mean, and then sometimes they're quiet and we're backstage going nuts thinking, oh God, did they like it? Did they not like it? And then you'll get a big cheer at the end and people come up and say, oh, I really enjoyed it. But because it moves at such a pace, they're sort of just trying to pay attention to what was happening. So yeah, that can happen. So generally people like the show, but they sort of react in slightly different ways depending on what type of audience it is.
And was there any point before you went on for your second showing that you thought, how on earth do we follow the Sonic
experimental machines?
Because that was
surreal.
It was insanely great.
Well, did you guys go and see the talk that the Sonic experimental machines did?
Oh no, we didn't. No.
It was stark staring mental.
I didn't know he was doing a talk. Oh, damn it.
He did a talk because I've been sort of fixing the show up on Friday because Andy had work and he couldn't get down. So we were like, okay, this guy's on before us. Let's go and check out his talk. The basis for the talk was meant to be that he was explaining his homemade machine, but what actually happened was it was sort of a combination of what you guys saw, but weirder because he was trying to explain it. But then he didn't see, whilst he was doing it, he also didn't seem at home doing it, but then he still went with the whole different characters. So he went, that's how I made that. However, I need to go, and a new man will come out in a minute, and it's okay.
That's amazing.
He was fantastic. He was fantastic, and I was kind of sat there thinking, how do you follow this? So
with toys and puppets, that's how you follow it.
Exactly. Do you have more shows coming? Are you busy through the year? Are you just going to keep on trucking with this whole thing?
Well, we've got Lancashire Science Festival. Is that June?
I think it's end of
And
June, beginning of July.
So they've got like a fringe event at the end of June.
This is in Preston.
Yeah, in Preston at UCLan. And so we're doing Jaws at the fringe event. And then the next weekend for the main sort of science festival, we'll be there as sort of an entertainment act doing Raiders.
Nice.
I'm guessing probably without the Daily Mail joke. See, it's a family event, so possibly without that Daily Mail joke.
So on that, kind of knowing your audience and all that, like how did you know you were going to get away with that? Because it is like, but it did take me a split second to kind of read the paper and go, oh shit. But like, how do you read your audience to know that you can crack that joke?
Exactly as you've just said. What we were relying on was the idea that you would read it, then you'd have that moment where you go, oh wait, hang on, and then someone's about to say it and doesn't, and you rely on the fact that it's innuendo and you haven't said it. You needed to say it explicitly. And the other thing is what you want is for jokes to be in there that parents are laughing at maybe, and the kids are going, partially, why are they laughing?
Yeah.
So before we did the first night, we did the first show, and I'm setting up front stage, and she comes up to us and she says, I've got my little lad here, is it suitable? And I was like, oh yeah. I said, I should warn you, there are jokes, there are things that happen in Back to the Future that are sort of, quite adult really. We make jokes out of them, but they're never explicit and they will go over his head. So you'll get it, but he probably won't. And she was like, oh, that sounds alright. And then while she was actually saying that, I saw him on the seat and he's like, oh shit, I want to go, shit. And I was like, to be honest, his language is worse than ours.
There has been one occasion when we felt we've had to dial back a little bit, and that was at DaleCon where we did the Flash Gordon show, because we did that weekend we did 3 performances of Flash Gordon, and the next day we did 3 lots of Back to the Future. And in our Back to the Future show, we've got the scene when Marty and Lorraine are in the car. Lorraine starts drinking, then she starts smoking. Then in our version, she starts taking cocaine, and then asks herself to find a vein. The first time we performed that,
there was a parent walked in and walked straight out. Wasn't there?
Well, there was just loads of kids in the audience, and we were just like, it was. I think because it was more of a daytime event, and people just saw a puppet show. Parents would just come and dropping the kids off and leaving them. We were doing all these drug references and thinking, okay, maybe we should dial this back a touch.
Yeah, when Timmy has a word with his mum, we might be in trouble.
One thing I loved, actually, that I noticed both nights was you had adults sat with crossed legs in the front. Is that a usual thing for you, or is that just SFW?
Yeah, it's happened a few times. We did Fab Cafe in Manchester, and it was literally, they arranged all the chairs as if it was a stage... stage with like in the round sort of thing, and then there were loads of people in cushions at the front, and they loved it. It was a really, really good event.
One of the comments that we get quite a lot is that people saying, I've not seen a puppet show since I was a kid, that sort of thing. So I think that's all part of it, sitting there cross-legged and pretending you're at your local library or whatever when you were a kid seeing puppet shows. So maybe
that was pretty cool. I noticed that both nights. I thought it was
there was fully grown, hairy-assed men sitting in the front row. And that is kind of what you want. That's the best kind of reception you can get.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. It's we buzz off it as well. So we kind of, you can't enjoy it while it's happening. So we'll, and then when we watch the videos back, you go, oh god, they were really into it, weren't they? This is great. So that's part of our reward.
I love as well that at the end of each show you did, people were coming up and you were getting pictures with the puppets and stuff. I loved all that. That was fantastic. I didn't have the balls to come up myself, but
if the Chief Brody puppet had been there, I would have.
Yeah, you would have. Yeah. I know you would have.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to have a word with the sci-fi
we might bring it back,
for next year.
Oh yeah.
Bring a big shark with us.
Yeah.
Oh, the shark.
Definitely.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
Spoiler alert: there's a shark in our Jaws puppet show.
I would never have
There's
thought
no
that.
shark.
Yeah. So guys, we're not going to take up too much of your time. This has been fantastic. I would love to speak to you longer. We got a few more things to do tonight. But first of all, can you tell people where they can find you, any shows you've got coming up, and just the general sort of, the wrap-up pimpage?
Yeah, you can find us on Twitter at puppet_cinema, and Andy, you can find us on Facebook.
Facebook is just Pop-Up Puppet Cinema. So if you search for us on Facebook, you're sure to find us. Like we said before, we're performing Back to the Future at Gulliver's in the Northern Quarter in Manchester on the 3rd of May.
On the Saturday of the last weekend of June, we will be at the Arts Centre at UCLan for the Festival Late event, Lancashire Science Festival, doing Jaws. And then the next weekend...
we'll be doing Raiders of the Lost Ark at the Lancashire Science Festival as well. And we've got a lot of other shows in the pipeline for this year. It's quite a lot off the back of Sci-Fi Weekender as well, so we'll be hoping to announce those soon on the Facebook and Twitter.
You're bloody busy then.
Yeah.
It's going well.
you know what? I would hope so as well, because the show that you guys do is fantastic, and we did enjoy it. And it was one of those things that before we went and I was looking at the things that were going on, I was like, right, I need to see this. This is going to be great. Straight off the bat, I knew, and it was fantastic, and I can't say enough.
Well, it was fun for us. We turned up on the Thursday, grabbed the programme, and saw the poster that we'd done, the double bill, and it was massive. And I was like, oh, hello, this is. So we had a really good time, really good reception, and thank you very much for having us on your show.
Honestly,
that's been a good chat.
It's our pleasure. I just wish we could have done it on the day and sort of had that atmosphere behind us and stuff, but well, these things happen.
Well, that's it. That's what you keep on saying to me. That's what you get when you go to a holiday campus. Just a shitty signal everywhere.
It was poor, but what can you do? That's exactly. Just what happens. So, guys, this has been absolutely fantastic, and it's been a pleasure talking to you, and we hope to see you again in the future.
Make sure you do Jaws next year.
Okay.
Ciao. Cool. Thank you.
Cheers.
I'm Jason.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Blake from the History of Bad Ideas. And we'll get back to your regularly scheduled program here in just a second, geek listeners. But we do a weekly podcast called The History of Bad Ideas.
Yeah, well, we'll discuss things like television or movies or music or games or any other thing that falls into our geek-related podcast knowledge.
You can find us on Geek Life Radio, Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, or Radio-Blitz, Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central, or you can listen to us whenever the hell you want on iTunes and Stitcher.
Check us out. Roger says goodbye.
Goodbye.
So that was them.
That was them. Yeah, that was a good interview.
It was a good interview. I really enjoyed it. I hope everybody out there checks them out. The guys are fantastic. Their shows are great. Quite innovative the way they do some of the things, like with the boulder and that, throwing the boulder at you, the confetti. We mentioned a couple of those things in the interview. You need to check them out if they're in a town near you.
Yeah, if you're at they do all sorts of different things up and down the country. So if you see a poster with these guys on it, go and see them. You'll not regret it.
And tell them that we sent you.
Exactly.
We might not have, but tell them anyway.
Well, you've listened to this.
Yeah, but they were maybe already going. But they were maybe already going.
No, it counts as us.
It counts as us. Yep. It all counts.
Yep.
It's all relative. So yeah, we have some Doctor Who interviews for you.
Yeah.
We have the cracking Fraser Hines coming up next. And what we are going to do is we're going to throw in the Sam Stone interview straight after that, because like I say, we've got a few. So the Fraser Hines interview is a nice little cool little 7-8 minutes, and then we go into Sam Stone, which is about an hour, because she just wouldn't stop talking. But while we're on that, Sam and her husband have a lot to do. David Hull have a lot to do with Sci-Fi Weekender, setting things up, and we personally think that they did a cracking job.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was our first time here. It was an awesome event. I keep wanting to call it a convention. It's not a convention. It's a gathering.
It's a gaggle.
A gaggle? Like a gaggle of crows?
Yeah.
Is that what a gaggle of crows is? No, it's not, is it?
No,
No.
it's a murder of crows.
A murder of crows? What, you for murdering?
I didn't say murder. You did?
Well, it's a bunch of Welsh people getting together in cosplay.
Okay, we've derailed again. Yeah, so it's a gathering. It's a hootenanny.
A hootenanny. I like that. A hootenanny. So yeah, we hootenannied all over the place. And
see, Sam being a Buffy fan will get that joke.
I don't get it. I just like the word hootenanny. But yeah, we had a fantastic time at Wales. We really look forward to hopefully going to SFW9. This isn't me saying that they should take us or have us there, but they should.
Wink.
Yep, wink, wink, nudge, 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 nudge. But Claire told us when we got there. Claire was the press liaison that we were involved with. She had her shit together all weekend.
Oh yes.
You heard us say on the last episode. You hear Chris say during this interview. We never saw her stop.
No.
She was constantly running around, and it couldn't have been easy. So she did a great job, but so did everybody behind the scenes. Area 51 guys, they did fantastic. Telos Publishing, everybody was just brilliant, and it was a great event. So when Claire told us that we needed to speak to Sam, we didn't get a chance at the event.
Well, she was speaking to her fans, and you don't want to interrupt that.
She was speaking to fans. She was speaking to Xander. She was speaking to not us. Yeah, we saw that she was busy, so we made a conscious effort after the event to get in touch and get her on to talk about everything that is SFW and Sam Stone. Mm-hmm. So you will hear that after the Fraser Hines interview, which I also thought was a great interview.
It was our first ever backstage interview as well.
It was. That was cool.
Well, you were in a chair. I was on my knees.
Yeah.
That sort of went to a different place than I thought I was going to.
Well, when we do things like this, I prefer you to be on your knees and me on the chair.
Yep.
It's the way it should be.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Because you are a handsome fellow.
Fuck off. Fuck off. Right. So, will we play the interviews then, on that note?
Well, tell the story about going backstage, because that's some cool shit. Yes. Although we did go backstage once with Alice Cridge.
But does that count as backstage? It was just through a door.
It was through a door behind a fucking curtain.
This was actually literally backstage. They'd finished up doing the Doctor Who talk.
Yep.
And so Claire, I apologise. Yeah. Claire had arranged for us to go backstage to do the interviews, so we did just that.
Yeah. And we sat in a little broom closet and spoke to Fraser Hines, which is what you're about to hear now. Sam Stone, straight after.
Okay, so we are joined right now by Fraser Hines. Fraser, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today. How are you enjoying Wales so far?
Terrible.
Terrible.
I arrived about a day and a half ago, and it just rained and rained and rained and rained.
Yeah. It's starting to brighten up.
And it's brightened up this morning now, and of course I feel this place was probably built in a swamp, because wherever you go,
Exactly.
Yeah, we were walking down to the restaurant last night, and when we came back out, the pond, with Pedalo's was completely flooded over. But we drove all the way down from Berwick to Berwick on Tweed to come here, and pretty much as soon as we got past Newcastle, it just was torrential the entire way down. But well, it's a bit sunny.
No phone signal. I think it's being built on an old burial ground, an Indian burial ground. No phone signals, no Wi-Fi.
You tend to find that with these holiday camps, though. Like the signal is just terrible.
Yeah,
we just want people to speak to each other instead of messing about on their phone.
Yeah, that's right. You're here on holiday. You're not here. Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
This is not Doctor Who. Yes, we're discussing the weather. Yes.
116 episodes of Doctor Who.
Yeah, that's 117.
117. That's amazing.
I don't think does that include the 5 Doctors and the 2 Doctors? I don't know. I don't think it does.
Right.
Yeah.
That's incredible. You wouldn't get that now.
No. In fact, I'm still the longest running companion. Mm-hmm. I think Jenna Coleman did the same 3 years as me, but less episodes.
Yeah.
And I'm in the Guinness Book of Records as well. David Howe just done the interviews there. He gave me a Christmas present about 4 or 5 years ago. Guinness Book of Records. I thought, that's very nice. He said, look at page 70 or whatever. Fraser Hines, longest running companion of Doctor. And only about 10 days later, I thought, I'm in the Guinness Book of Records. But, he sort of really hits you about 10 days later, and you can't get in there unless you eat 12 dozen raw eggs or jump out of a plane without a parachute or something. So that's lovely.
So what's your? You've got a lot of episodes there, a lot of stories. So what's your favourite Jamie arc?
I loved the Highlanders because that was my first story, and I'd love to see that because remember having a sort of a Highland accent in that, not the sort of Scottish accent, the sort of David Tennant accent later on. But I loved the Faceless ones, when Patrick and I started to do our comedy double act. That's when we started to get to know each other, and I loved all the comedy stuff. Particularly in the Tomb of the Cybermen, on the actual take, getting hold of each other's hand. It was in the script we get Victoria's hand, but the director Maurice Barry would not allow. If we'd suggested that, he wouldn't have allowed it. So we waited till the take, and we did come in. Yes, come on, and it's there forevermore. It's not a story as we did this and we had to cut and did it again. It's there because Peter Bryant, he was in the control room, the gallery, and he said, no, that's just what, because Maurice Barry was furious because the scene went on. And he said, no, that's what we needed. We've had all this tension and a guy getting electrocuted and died. We just need that, just to release the tension.
Yeah.
So Patrick and I, we're always looking for something like that, just to release the tension.
That's the best bits of Doctor Who, or among the best bits, is when the Doctor and the companion are sort of heading off each other.
Yes, yeah.
So what do you think then of the current product?
I like Capaldi. To me, I'm old-fashioned. I like the Doctor to be an older person. I don't want to think, is he having it off with his companion?
Yeah, that became the ongoing thing, didn't it, for a long time there?
And also, I think if an older person bursts into a room with three professors and he's too young, the professor's going to, who are you? Whereas if he's got the gravitas of an older man like Capaldi, they'll listen to him. But I like Smith's performances, but I wanted to work with Capaldi because
Capaldi is amazing, isn't he?
I'm just sorry he's leaving because
I know. That's I suppose they have to move on eventually, though, don't they? Yeah. I mean,
You get very sad.
Teary-eyed. one of my favourite Capaldi moments, I think it was his very first episode, where he found out that he was Scottish, and he kind of the line was, "I don't know what's going on, but I'm sure I blame the English." It was just an amazing line. So what's on for you right now? One of the things I saw on your IMDb is it the
Seriously
God
Dead?
Factor or God?
You haven't shot that yet. No, that's been
2019, isn't it?
But I'm in the middle of a play called Seriously Dead.
Nice.
We did 24 episodes. It took 24 dates last year. We've got another 34 dates this year. We've done 10 already. It's with me, Billy Pearce, Leah Bell, Newcastle Lass, and Chrissy Rock. And we do one nights all over the place. We're going up as far as Scotland. But look, where do you live? Where do you live? Alnwick. Are you Alnwick?
Berwick. That's near Alnwick.
We're like right on the border of England.
Because I think we're coming to Newcastle somewhere. Anyway, it's called Seriously Dead. It's a play with music. It's very funny, but it's a play with music. Not musical, no dancers coming on, but it's very, very funny. And all the theatres we were saying, I wish we'd had it here for the week. So doing a lot of that, and also Doctor Who conventions in America as well.
Wow.
So Seriously Dead will take me till June now.
Right.
So how does treading the boards compare to being like on screen and stuff like for yourself?
The thing is, treading the boards, if something goes wrong, you have to get yourself out of trouble.
Yeah.
Whereas on a TV thing, you can stop and cut. I mean, I did last year, year before, and then there were none, Agatha Christie. And I was playing Rogers the butler. And the story is these 10... Do you know the story? And then there were none. It used to be 10 little Indians, and then you can't say that for PC reasons. So it's called, and then there were none. 10 strangers come on an island, and there's a voice says, Judge so-and-so, you hang the wrong man. So-and-so, you poison your mother. And it accuses all these 10 people. And one by one they get bumped off. So my character puts this record on, and the voice comes on. And one afternoon in Cambridge, I put the record on, and there was nothing, no voice. And so the car starts to ad-lib, and I look in the wings, and the company manager has the CD going, it's broken. What do I do? Do I go off from the wings, go, nothing to do with me? Because it's live theatre, I said, ladies and gentlemen, I've just put this record on, and it hasn't worked, but I played it yesterday to see what sort of music was, and unfortunately it's not music. It accuses you of murdering so-and-so. Miss so-and-so, you drowned your son. So you drowned your baby in the bath. You murdered it. And me and my wife, I accused everybody. Because somebody had to do it. Otherwise, they couldn't say, why am I here? I bet I'm here because I've killed... So that's the lovely thing. And after the curtain came down, one of the actors said, "Well, I've heard of building your part up, Fraser, but this is ridiculous. But it's just great fun." All right,
yes, we know you're busy, so I mean, just to speak to us is fantastic.
Cheers.
Yeah,
All right.
that's brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you
Enjoy
very
the rest
much.
of the weekend.
Will do. Certainly will.
He snores,
She wheezes.
say housework and he freezes.
She eats these skeezy cheeses that I can't describe.
I talk, he breezes.
She doesn't know what pleases.
His penis got diseases from a shoe mosh tribe. The vibe gets
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Not bad at all, not bad at all. We had a fantastic time at SFW, so we've already done one episode. We did part one, which was mostly focused on the Redwood premiere with Tom and Mike. And
Yes.
the second episode, we're just trying to do a bit coverage, like sort of encompassing a lot of the things that were there. And Claire Lloyd, the press lady that we dealt with, she pretty much said that we had to speak to you.
Don't say it like that.
Well, no, she did.
Strong-armed.
She kind of turned around and she says, "You need to go and see Sam. Sam has a great crack. You need to get her." And we every time we saw you in the Telos booth, where the tables were. Every time we saw you,
Yes, and I wasn't there very much because I was on so many panels.
Exactly.
I was all over the place.
And we just kind of thought, you know what? Let's just back off and we'll contact her after the event because she looks super busy.
That's so cool. It was a crazy weekend. I have to say it was wonderful, but very very full on.
It was our first year there, and it was just like, wow, this is mental in a good way. Though.
I have to say, I think it was the best one so far.
Really?
I really think it was. Absolutely. I know that was your first one, but and you've nothing to compare it to, but. Having been there myself for maybe 5-6 years, I'm not quite sure how many. In all of that time, this is the best one.
That's good.
Without a doubt, best sci-fi weekend.
Well, we thoroughly enjoyed the weekend. It was kind of a last minute, well, not a last minute thing, but we only had like 2 or 3 weeks to prepare, and it was like, oh crap, we don't even know what we're doing when we get there. But we had a fantastic weekend. It was a ball. It was an absolute blast.
Nice to meet so many like-minded people, isn't it?
It was.
Yeah, we've said that a few times.
Yeah.
Everybody was just so friendly, and there was just such an amazing atmosphere the entire weekend. It was just great. Because
we do a few other ones, a few other events that are organised by other companies, and sort of like when you get there, there's this sort of, I'm not going to say that nobody wants to speak to you, but there is a sort of, in a room full of 1,000 people, isolation, you know. Yeah. But at Sci-Fi Weekend,
I can understand that.
Everybody was like mates. Everybody was sitting down, cracking. It was, and. As I said on the last episode we did, the cosplay is a cut above, an absolute cut above.
Definitely.
I mean, that is helped because you've also got professional cosplayers there that are there to encourage as well. And they do a fantastic job of judging the cosplay. And again, still encouraging people who maybe didn't make it this time, but next year they know what to do to up their game.
Oh,
so
yeah, definitely.
It's a huge part of the show.
There's been posts on the closed Facebook group of people starting their costumes already for next year. So,
that's right.
But yeah, so that's Sci-Fi Weekend. Chris actually has a little bit of beef with you, to be honest, and he wants to.
Oh God, what have I done?
He does actually. he wants to get into something with you.
It's not beef exactly. I was jealous as hell that you got to interview Nicholas Brendon.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I know.
And
I'm going to gloat on that one.
It wasn't so much the interview that got him; it was more the singing.
The sing along, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
the sing along was amazing.
I was just absolutely amazed myself. I mean, I was hoping that Nicky would be happy to do that, and he was so up for it, which was great. So and I got to sing Anya, and he got to sing Xander, and I thought, wow, does it ever get better than that?
Is that a bucket list thing, Sam?
I'd been really looking forward to meet. I met him once before at Wales Comic Con a few years ago, but very, very briefly, and I didn't really get to sit down and talk to him properly. So this was lovely, and I saw quite a lot of him afterwards backstage, and he's very friendly. He's a great guy, really, really nice, and he was fun to interview as well. So it was, and especially that. I mean, that just had to be the icing on the cake, didn't it, doing the sing-along?
Yeah.
You definitely seemed like you were having an absolute ball, and Chris was kind of stood there like, I should be down there.
Well, I love to sing, so I was very happy.
Chris was kind of stood there going, I should be Anya. I should be Anya.
Yeah, you're jealous.
But he did get.
I love that.
He did get to meet him on the Thursday night for a few minutes. Which,
I did, yeah.
Which, to be honest, he never stopped smiling for the whole weekend.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Oh,
I was like that.
It was amazing.
I was like that when I met Tony Head a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
He told me that he'd just been asked by Audio Go to do the audio of one of my books, and I was like, unfortunately, he was too busy and couldn't do it, so I was pretty gutted that he didn't do it. But he had a picture taken with me, and you know when somebody puts their arm around you and you think you're just going to be like a casual thing? Well, he really pulled me into himself, and the whole picture is me blushing bright red, which exactly how I just went, a whole flush, complete flush. But it was a wonderful moment because I thought, wow, he's just amazing, so talented. And I'm a huge Buffy fan, so
Yes, it's so
out of the team, it had to be me that did the interview. I'd have broken a few legs,
So you say that you've been to 5 of these events. Obviously, you're an author in your own right. You've done a lot of work from what I can see. I've had a look through your bibliography and everything. There's a lot there, to be fair. And
I write a lot.
so how does it come about that you end up doing these panels and that you end up at something like Sci-Fi Weekend? Because you seem to be well in amongst it,
Yeah, well, it's interesting because the Sci-Fi Weekend, the first time I went was at Prestatyn a few years ago, and David and I lived there.
All right.
And so I wrote to them and said, look, I'm a local author. I'd love to come along as a guest. Would you be interested? And knowing that I wasn't going to cost them anything because I was so local, they didn't even need to put me up in a bed, They were like, it was like, yeah, sure you can. So they gave us a table, they announced us on the website. So that's exactly what we wanted. Thought it was the most brilliant event ever.
Yeah.
Because it was just fun and the panels were fantastic. And interesting, and people were so up for being there, and so many fantastic people who like to read, which is a big thing, and an important thing for authors to meet people who like to read. And so David and I first got involved that year, and then after that, when it moved next year to the Prof Rally, we were asked to help out a bit with the author panels, to sort of set up the schedule, which I did. And then that went on for a couple of years. And then Johnny, who's the organiser, has basically asked Telos to be one of the co-sponsors of the show, which we are now. And we're very heavily involved in it now, much more than we used to be. And David, of course, did the entire schedule this year. So not just the authors, but, we organised all of the acts, all of the programming, with the help of Matt Page, who runs Area 51. So we were very impressed with how it was this year because we made a massive effort to make the event bigger and better than ever this year, with many, many streams, in the hope that people would have more than enough to do, if not too much, because that's a nice problem to have, you see.
Yeah, I saw that before we went, that you have it's all set out in arenas, as Chris knows. I'm looking at him as if I'm telling him, but it's all set out in arenas, and I saw that you went from like 3 arenas to 7.
We did, and we've taken over the whole site now.
Yeah, that's great.
And I didn't know how it was going to work out this year. But it was effortless. It felt effortless to me. And behind the scenes, there were no major issues that that we could even think of, really, to be honest, that made it a problem. Obviously, you won't please everybody at these events. There's always going to be something that somebody complains about.
Yeah.
But you just listen to it and you take it on board, and if you think it's valid, then you do something about it,
Well, we've been saying on the last episode, and when we do our intros and outros for this episode, it is a cracking event, and if people haven't been, they need to go.
They definitely need to go to that.
I bumped into Ash at work.
And they better book quick because it's nearly sold out for next year already.
Exactly.
Already? Wow.
No, did you see? It was like literally
it was before the weekend was over.
Yeah.
Yeah, before the weekend was over, there wasn't much left.
That is amazing.
It is.
I think it was a real tribute to the fact that people had such a good time, and I'm so glad because I've never seen so many smiling faces myself for a weekend. Everywhere I went, people were smiling. And they were going, hi Sam, everywhere I went, which was really cool.
We were exactly the same. We were the same. It was like, because like I say, we've done these things before, but it's like it's a 1 day thing, and then you go away and then you come back. So when they said that you're going to be staying on site, we were like, okay. And they were like, and you're going to be there for 4 days, and we were like, okay.
And you're going to be in the press quarters.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like,
yeah.
Like, this is a bit mad. And then we got there and it was like,
this is good though, isn't it?
It was like, this is how it should be done.
Yeah, definitely.
They really know how to do it.
Oh,
they really do.
They really took care of us, which is fantastic, because we've been burnt once or twice. So the way these guys took care of us was just utterly fantastic, and it's a testament to the event.
Well, the very fact that
and
we
the
got
team
there
that are behind it.
Exactly. That's the thing. We got there.
They worked so hard.
And Claire, who we sat down with when we got there, and Claire sorted us out with the keys for the caravan and our press passes and all that kind of thing. And then she'd already set up like 3 interviews for us before we'd even got there, which is that's so cool. That's
good old Claire.
Yeah, Claire was great, and she must have had some amazing soles in her feet, because she never sat down the entire weekend that I saw.
No, she didn't. I know. She worked very hard.
so that's the weekend that we've just had. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Sam? Tell the listeners what it is that you do. Obviously, you're an author, you're an editor. I went on your page and you do a bit of everything, and you organise amazing events.
I do. I'm a busy girl.
So why don't you just give the listener a little rundown of who you are and what it is you do? Sure,
yeah. Well, I started my career writing horror, and I still do write horror. But what I like to do is cross the genres quite a lot. So I've got a horror collection which is called a horror series, called The Vampire Gene, which is now on book 6, which is kind of adult fiction. It's not YA, so don't expect vegetarian vampires that sparkle. It's adult fiction.
Damn! I was
not that there's anything wrong with that at all. Just saying that that's not the demographic, if that's what you're looking for. No. So prepared to be a little bit shocked and a bit, because it's sexy and it's dark and and it's also fun. And my other series is the Cat Lightfoot Mysteries, which is more YA actually. So this is suitable for anyone sort of 11 up, depending on how well read they are and how mature their reading is. But because it's still horror, but there's no sexual content, and they are stories like, the first one is called Zombies at Tiffany's, so it's kind of Breakfast at Tiffany's. Breakfast at Tiffany's meets Shaun of the Dead in a Victorian steampunk New York, so there's a steampunk element in the stories. And again, it's an ongoing series. I'm on book 5 at the moment. Book 6 I'm writing later this year. And I've also got a trilogy which is dark sci-fi, really. Somebody has referred to it as being like Peter F. Hamilton, but as I've never read, much to my shame, any Peter F. Hamilton, I really don't know. So, but it's kind of an aliens attacks Earth and they start killing the men and stealing the women through a vortex. So some people have said it sounds a bit sort of 80s B-movie-ish. That might turn you on, it might turn you off, but it isn't really. It's quite, I like to think it's quite an intelligent story, and it's very much, the premises of it is Lord of the Rings meets Independence Day via men are from Venus and women are from Mars.
Wow.
I'll let you absorb that one.
That's
a lot of genres in one.
That is some genre mashing right there.
It's what I do. Mix things. I mix things. I've also written some official Sherlock Holmes stories, nice. One for Titan, which isn't out yet, and one for Constable and Robinson, the mammoth book of Sherlock Holmes Abroad, where I wrote a story that I really am quite proud of, to be honest. And as well as that, I write lots and lots of Lovecraftian stories for the American market, which I'm often being asked for. One which I finished today, actually, which I'm hoping the editor will like. And so therefore I launched my own Cthulhian collection this Sci-Fi Weekender, because I thought I've got all these terrific stories now that are building up. Let's put them together in a big volume, and I wrote some original ones for that as well. So I kind of do lots of things, really. Yeah. I also write screenplays. I've got a screenplay that's going into production later this year, but I've got an NDA on. I can't really tell you about it other than that. And I've got a stage play that I'm hoping is going to be put on soon as well. So I'm quite busy, really.
Yeah.
And audios, of course.
It very much sounds like you are busy.
Yeah, I saw something before about, is it the, correct me if I'm wrong, is it the Stone Tapes?
Yes, the Stone Tapes is my own radio show, and I have a terrific team. My husband, David J. Howe's the co-producer, and there is Robin Pearce, who is Starburst reviewer, who we do a phone in, and he's kind of like our Wales correspondent. We've got in the studio a lovely lady called Patricia H. Ash, who does our book reviews, and George Mann, you may know of, who's a very, very good and top author in his own right, of the Newbery and Hobbs books in particular, and also lots of Sherlock Holmes stuff as well, and Doctor Who tie-ins. Now George did the War Doctor book.
Wow.
The John Hurt one.
Yeah.
And he's in the studio with us as well. He's great, and he usually talks about. It's a genre show, so we talk about everything to do with genre. So we have a film review every week. We have a book review. Robin reviews something or talks about a series that he's seen, and George talks about sometimes conventions that he's been to or writing in general. And then we have guests on. Like last night, we had Tim Lebanon, and he's another fantastic author with lots of tie-ins as well as his own original work. And we were talking to him a lot about the Alien tie-ins last night because our other theme was Alien. So we usually have a theme on the show. So, and we have a great deal of fun doing it. Actually, we had cool, yeah. Lincoln. It really is, and Lincoln University a few weeks ago actually did a whole convention day for us as well for the show, which was really cool. Ended in a live recording. Well, not a live recording, but a live show. Because normally we record as live and then it goes out the next day or later. But which is what happened last night, and it was out tonight. And it's also podcasted, so people can catch up on it, which is great.
Well, there's a podcast. We'll be recommending them.
I'll check. Is it on iTunes? Yeah.
The podcasting, but it's Siren FM anyway. If anyone wants to talk, Siren Online.
So why? Probably a bit of a redundant question, but why horror and why the Cthulhu? Why those particular areas that you write about?
Well, the thing is with horror, I think it's a wonderful thing to be scared in a safe way. Yeah. And I've read a lot of horror growing up. My first adult book was The Collector by John Fowles, which wasn't so much a horror but a thriller. And they did a film with that wonderful actress Samantha Agar and a fabulous actor Terence Stamp many years ago, based on the book. I don't know if you've heard of that one. And I picked this book up when I was a youngster because my mum was probably reading it, and I used to read everything I could get my hands on. And I was just absolutely blown away by feeling this sense of dread and, totally absorbed in the story. And children's books were completely, I was still in primary school, but they were completely out of the window after that. There was no way I was going to read another child's book. And after that, I found and read all sorts of things. I've read anything from historical romance to Stephen King, Dean Koontz, Richard Lehman for my sins, who I'm not less keen on, because I think it's a bit too gruesome for me, his stuff. Not that I don't like or write a bit gruesome myself, which I do, but I don't like the fact that it tends to lack the supernatural element. I prefer the supernatural element in my own reading, because it's a lot easier to chew, if you get my drift. Whereas when you're reading a book about a team of men who are lawyers and or just accountants or normal people who actually once every now and again go out on a killing spree for the fun of it, that sort of feels too real. It could happen. But horror for me with a supernatural bent is a lot of fun. And, particularly vampires and particularly, demons and things. And as I said earlier, I'm a huge fan of Buffy, so, there's all of those things that influenced me growing up, really.
That's cool.
That is cool. So would you ever, you've done stuff for Doctor Who and all those kind of things. Have you ever thought about doing some fiction from Buffy?
I would love to. I mean, if I was ever asked, I most certainly would be up for it, because I know the series very well, and I would love to do it. I have done. I've done a big Finnish audio based on the Dorian Gray stories, where they have Dark Confessions of Dorian Gray, which are original stories, and as you said, I've got this Doctor Who spin-off coming out in November, which is the White Witch of Devil's End, in which it's kind of an anthology, sort of talking head style play, would you say, or screenplay, and which I was the script editor on, as well as I wrote one of the stories. Yeah, I love writing tie-in stuff. I think it's really interesting. And you know, always a challenge, because to get it right is not that easy, you know.
That's the thing, especially with like a fan base like Doctor Who or Buffy. You have to get it right, or they'll tell you a new one.
Absolutely would, and I would hate to screw it up so much, you know. I mean, because I know how I'd feel if I was reading it and it was just not right, you know.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than reading something where you think that character wouldn't do that. That's Buffy wouldn't do that, you know. But that would be amazing if you got to do something like that. I'd love to do something like that.
Is this you pitching?
I'd love to do some Hammer stuff as well. You know, Hammer Horror for a while have come back, haven't they? And they've been doing a few films. They did Woman in Black, which I wasn't that keen on, to be honest with you. I thought it was a bit lacking in horror for me. It wasn't exciting enough. I felt it should have been scarier, but that's a personal preference, and I think a lot of people actually did love that film.
It had its moments.
It had a few jump moments, but it was just, it felt, I hadn't seen or read the story of Woman in Black, but it felt a bit predictable all the way through. But maybe that's just me. I have that problem whatever I watch now, because everything's a bit predictable.
I was going to say, for someone like yourself who writes as much as you do and who is always trying to create something new, most of the things you do watch probably would be like, yeah, I saw that coming.
Yeah, I drive David mad a bit, really, because I'm watching something and I go, oh, that's the killer, and this one's done that, and the reason they've done it is that, and he'll be 10 minutes in, he'll go, just stop it. No, you can't know that. And we get to...
You must be the worst person to watch a movie with.
You know, mostly... I'm not 100%, but usually mostly right. I've got something. And I don't know what it is. I pick something up out of the narrative that tells me what's going to happen. And I hate predictability. I think I'd love to be surprised. Now You See Me. Now You See Me was a great... That one was great. When I saw the first film of that.
The Magicians.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Didn't know what was going to happen there at all.
That is a fantastic twist, actually. Of all the movies that I have watched recently, that's a fantastic twist, because I didn't see that one.
It is, and it's fantastic. And I actually love to watch less horror now and more thrillers and, you know, sort of crime things, because they might give me a little bit more of a surprise and a bit more of a thrill than some of the horror, which is a bit like a busman's holiday in some ways.
Nothing wrong with that.
So you're going to be at SFW8, yeah?
I certainly am.
Yeah.
I've no idea at this point what we'll be doing on schedule, but I know we're starting to think about it already. So it's going to be, you know, the programme is hopefully going to be bigger and better than this year.
Really?
And we'll be at Sci-Fi in the City as well in Sheffield in October.
Yes. We were invited to that as well, weren't we? But we're going to Cincinnati at the end of September, so we're literally going to be.
Oh, nice!
It's going to be like a con event as well. Yeah, but we're also going to visit a couple of our podcasting buddies over there. So we're literally going to be back 3 days, and then we kind of thought there's no way we're going to be back 3 days, get over the jet lag, and then go to Sheffield and stay awake the entire weekend. It's just not going to happen.
No, I think you would be pushing it.
I think we would be, Sam. Yeah, I think we'll save ourselves for Wales next year.
I think as well. I would.
I'm sure we'll have a great time again.
I'd definitely be in divorce territory if I did that.
Yeah, I think you would be.
So well, that has to be considered, doesn't it?
It does have to be considered, Kev.
Yep. I don't know if the right guest is there. I think I'll go.
What would be the right? No, we're not going to.
Well, you just never know. I mean, I think they may have announced a couple, but I'm not sure. We're still putting together the list of authors at the moment, so that's still a work in progress. So hopefully there will be some announcements soon on that.
Awesome,
good stuff. No
Who would you like to see it? Who would you like to see at one of these events?
Oh, I don't know.
God, I don't know.
That is the question, isn't it? Because we every time we go, it's like, oh, I really want to see that guy. I really want to see this person. I really want to see him or her, and then you kind of get there and it's like, I've seen them now.
No, it was great seeing Chris Barry. Obviously, Nicholas Brendan was cool. Amazing. We got to briefly meet Pat Sharp as well, which was damn cool.
That was a bonus.
That is
obviously
cool.
the Doctor Who guys, Peter Purves, we got to speak to him for a good half hour.
Oh, he's lovely,
great.
Peter.
That was great. He was a great guy.
We didn't talk about Doctor Who.
No, we didn't. No, it turns out
No,
he's
he's a
actually
lovely guy.
from our area, so we had a good chat about that.
Interesting.
So I would
Bit of a strange interview, that one, because it was like, okay, let's talk about Doctor Who, and he's like, no, let's talk about Beric. It's like, okay, let's talk about Beric.
Just from your point of view, Sam, get Sarah Michelle Gellar there.
I think that would probably be impossible, to be honest. I don't think she's done any conventions that I know of.
Yeah.
Amber Benson's a possibility. I guess. She could do it. We'd hope to get James back, I'm sure. I'd love it if we got James, because he was supposed to come this year but then got a movie.
I saw that.
The interview you saw with Nikki would have been with James, so I was, equally gutted and thrilled at the same time.
I was going to say
that Nikki was going to be there but not James.
It's not a bad person to be trading, to be fair.
No.
It's not.
No, it wasn't bad. No.
So did you get to see Redwood?
I didn't get to see it at all, and I will. It is definitely on my watch list.
It's coming out. It's towards the end of this year, I believe. But definitely have a look for it. We went to the premiere of it.
We loved it.
It was great.
And what did you think?
It was great.
You liked it?
Fantastic. You're talking about horror and what have you. Tom did an amazing job of building up the tension.
Yeah.
Slowly and gradually building up the tension of the movie until you eventually get to the.
No, well, that sounds like it's just up my street.
You will absolutely.
In fact, it was Rob Pierce that did the interview afterwards, wasn't it? And he was telling me that it was wonderful. He was raving about it. Very, very thrilled with the film. But I think they sent him a link beforehand to see it.
Right.
But he could prepare his questions, which is great. But I honestly think, these films, I think last year it was the same guys that did, was it Prometheus?
Pandorica.
Pandorica.
Yeah.
Pandorica, that's right. And that we did watch. We did enjoy that. And I think he's obviously an amazingly talented writer-director, isn't he?
Definitely.
I mean, I have to say the difference. I mean, we spoke to him on the Saturday as well, and I did mention it to him. I was like, the difference between Pandorica and Redwood. If he thought Pandorica was good, if he thought he was talented, then he's leaps and bounds in a year.
Well, I felt Pandorica needed work, but I was aware that it was, a low budget, and I allowed a lot for that. But yes, I was aware that some of that wasn't as perfect as it could have been, but I thought it was good within the bounds that they had.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's the way I tried to look at things.
When you're making a movie,
but Redwood, then, and on your recommendation, I've got to see it now.
You definitely have to see it. Absolutely, we can't wait to see it again. It was great. But let's tell everybody where they can find you, where they can look for your work as well, Sam.
Yeah, well, you can get my work in all good bookstores, and bad ones as well, probably, and or Amazon. You can get them on online retailers, Amazon, and other ones do apply as well, and Kindle. And if you want to know more, you can go to my website, which is www.sam-stone.com, or to the Telos Publishing website, which is www.telos, which is telos.co.uk. They sell quite a lot of my books there. I have got a new book coming out later this year with Kevin Anderson's publishing house, Wordfire Press. In the USA, which is called Posing for Picasso, which is a supernatural thriller set in modern day New York. So there's also that to look out for.
God, you are busy, aren't you? How do you have time for it all?
I've got 3 more books to write yet though before the year's out. I've got to finish the Jinx trilogy. I've got Jinx Bound. And then there was Cat, which was the 6th Cat Lightfoot one. And I've got to do a spin-off, and the Doctor Who spin-off we're actually novelising the script now, so I've got to do my part of that and write a wraparound story for all of the stories as well. So we've got quite a lot going on.
You know what it is,
but it should be fun.
We all we really do with this podcast is we get together once a week, have a few beers, talk about films. And we sometimes struggle to fit that in. So how are you writing like 12 books in one go? It's crazy, but massively talented.
I do. I've had a quiet year actually. I should have done a lot more than I've done so far. I've actually had a quiet year.
Wow,
I have
that's just
really.
showing off now.
Yeah, it is just showing off. It's just getting arrogant now.
I think what it is like I treat it like a job, and with it which it is. And, you know, if you were a doctor, you wouldn't say, get up one day and say, no, you know what, I'm not going in because it doesn't matter. So with writing, I do the same thing. I don't get up and think, right, I'm not writing today because it doesn't matter. I write today or I don't get paid. So
yeah, that's a good point.
You have to crack up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you treat it like a job. As much as I love doing it, I feel very privileged to be able to do it. It is a job as well for me. You know, because you can't be professional and treat it any other way. A long time ago when it was a hobby.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I love it still. Just as much.
As long as you still enjoy it, that's all that matters as well as getting paid for it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like to tell stories. It's who I am, and I have to be honest. If I don't get time to write, I get very, very antsy. You know, you've seen that advert with Joan Collins. You turn into a right diva when you don't get your Snickers. I turn into a right bitch when I don't write.
Well, Sam, this has been absolutely fantastic. I've thoroughly enjoyed speaking to you. Awesome, and honestly, I'm so glad that Claire told us that we needed to speak to you because this has been a blast.
It definitely has.
And anytime you want to chat, let me know.
Sounds good. And well, SFW9, we will come up and meet in person.
Yeah, definitely.
We certainly will.
That was a mistake.
And don't be shy. Awesome. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
care.
Sam.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Astro Radio Z is a horror, cult, exploitation film podcast hosted by me, Derek Carey. I was one of those monster kids growing up. The one that used to sit in the back end of that video store and scour over every single last film cover you saw back there, from the slashers to the monsters to the sleazy stuff. Yeah, I was freaking obsessed, and I still am. So much so I became a filmmaker myself. Now I bring on all my filmmaker friends, critics, musicians, and any other fans of the dark arts, which are horror, exploitation, and cult film. Are you one of these people? Then tune in and listen to my show, Astro Radio Z.
So that was two solid ass interviews. I hope everybody's still listening.
Probably not. I hope they are, because I liked the Peter Purves interview. When I edited the Peter Purves interview, I actually forgot how much fun we had with that.
Yeah, he was great.
He sort of, to sit down with, again, Peter Purves is another Doctor Who, and the last interview with Yee Jee Tso, which was also a great interview. He was also in Doctor Who. So we got 3 Doctor Whos when we were there, and you kind of taken over with all your Doctor Who-ness and your Buffiness, and because it was pretty much Doctor Who Buffy weekend.
To be fair,
for you.
None of these Doctor Who ones was my fault.
No, they weren't.
They were pretty much already set up by Claire.
They were. Claire did a great job, as we've already said. But Peter basically decided that, well, I think it was a conscious effort that he decided we are not going to talk about Doctor Who.
We spoke about it a little bit. We spoke about, what it was like on set, which was a really interesting conversation.
Which is why I put these two together, because the bulk of both interviews is that how different they were to film.
So the themes.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I don't just do these things willy-nilly. Who do you think I am?
I thought you just threw darts at a thing and...
No!
Alright, okay.
It's all relative. Come on.
Okay, Einstein. So we spoke to Peter about his family connections up in our neck of the woods, which is also very interesting. And then you will hear it now in a minute. We got to hear about what it was like when you were actually filming Doctor Who back in the day. How manic it was, basically, and it was really, really interesting.
It was.
So we hope that everybody enjoys that.
To think any program's filmed like that is mental.
Yeah.
So yeah, Peter's coming up now, and then Yee Jee Tso straight after that, and we'll be back to pretty much do an outro. Yeah. Let you know what's coming next. We're a team.
Where are you guys from?
We're from Berwick upon Swede. Yeah.
I had an uncle who was the chief electrician at the pit at Scremiston.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
We spent a lot of time as a kid up there.
Nice.
I was brave in those days, swimming in the North Sea, and by God, it was cold.
Mm-hmm. Like I've not done that since I was a kid.
Yeah, the rock pools there are beautiful, you know. It's just lovely. The last time I filmed up there, I did a film with the bailiffs on the Tweed.
Right.
Which was quite fun. It was good. They arrested a couple of guys, and it was all very entertaining.
that would have been back when Berwick was Berwick. It's not so much that anymore. Like it's changed a hell of a lot.
Well, the whole area has, but the border country's lovely. I really do like it. It's a beautiful.
That's
place.
the thing. It's a beautiful town, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's,
it's a lovely.
Yeah.
It's a shame the old
away.
fortifications are fantastic.
Yeah.
Elizabethan stuff is wonderful.
They were on about rebuilding, weren't they? They were going to rebuild the castle.
Yeah, there's a local guy who's trying to get funding to build a replica of the castle.
All right.
Just along from where it actually was.
Well, I mean, its footprint's there.
Yeah.
Everything, isn't it? The whole shape, exactly as it was, is there. I mean, again, I know that quite well. My family, and we are going back into the 1870s, actually going back as far as the mid-17th century, 1740s, 1750s, come from a little village called Swinton.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, it's close to... Well, actually, there's a baronial hall there called Purves Hall.
Right.
It's about 10 miles from Berwick, from Swinton. And my family come from Swinton originally, on my father's side. They had a butcher's shop there and also a shoe shop, corduroys. And they moved to Berwick and they opened a big store there back in about 1890. So we traced my family right the way back. The last guaranteed place was she'd be a great grandmother in the churchyard in Swinton.
Excellent.
And, it's fascinating when you do all that stuff. But we think that there was probably, because of the name and everything else, we think there was obviously a wrong side of the bedsheets liaison somewhere with the Purves family in Purves Hall, who was a baron.
Nice.
A baronet.
I've always wanted to trace mine back, but I would just end up being Blythe. It would stop at Blythe. And
stop at Blythe?
You don't want that.
My mother's family goes back to Blythe, but actually they're Highlanders. They were Frasers, which were... what's the time? I think it was the Fraser clan.
Nice. Cool.
So they're Highlanders. Spelt them a Z, meant they fought. A lot of them silly salt.
I did start doing that.
Probably got wiped out. Are you English or Scots?
I'm English.
I'm Scottish.
It's a conflict of interest when we do the podcast.
I'm not a great Doctor Who fan. I mean, I was in it, and I enjoyed what I did in it, and I enjoy remembering it when I'm asked questions about it and all that sort of stuff. But I don't watch the show on a regular basis. I've seen every Doctor. I make a point of doing that because I think it would be wrong in my position not to. Yeah. But I don't follow the show. No.
Oh well.
I stopped when, believe it or not, when John Pertwee was in it. I knew John very well. He was a good friend of his. We used to go out to dinner at least once a month, and I did know John pretty well. But I didn't like his Doctor. That was, I was still a good friend of his. I liked him immensely.
Did you tell him that?
No, I didn't. No, I wouldn't have done that. I didn't think it was necessary to tell him that. But I didn't like his Doctor particularly, and I didn't like the way it got bogged down with UNIT and became very England-based. So, no, that's not Doctor Who to me. And so I stopped watching it then. But then it got into colour, and I can't act in colour.
Was that nothing to? That was nothing to do with. It wasn't your Doctor.
Oh, possibly. But no, I think all the actors who played are good actors, but I don't necessarily like
it's one thing
the show and what they did at that time. But I think they were all very good actors. I mean, I've just been in Baltimore with Sylvester was there. I know Sylvester pretty well. I've known him for a long time. I think he's crazy. He knows he's crazy, and I would say that to his face. I mean, we get on fine. But that era, I think Doctor Who had run its course. Right. I think it was dying.
Yeah, it was ready for a break.
It was ready to come off. And it only came back due to the American interest fostered by the Paul McGann film. And then when it came back in 2004 with the full support of the BBC and a fair bit of money, pushed its way. And Christopher Eccleston just was the best casting it could possibly
He was great.
have been.
we've said that a few times. That if it wasn't for Christopher Eccleston, you wouldn't have.
I don't think so.
Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, you wouldn't have them because
I believe that absolutely. But I think the casting has been very good. I think that the later Doctors have been terrific. But I don't particularly like the stories. I find them too complicated.
Yeah.
The technology available to them, and the single camera shooting, and the possibility of editing and special effects and everything has taken over. You know, in my day it was the story led it, and the stories were great. They were short, simple, direct, to the point, linear. I like a beginning and an end and a middle, preferably in the correct order. Preferably in the correct order.
Yeah.
You know, I mean that's the way it should be.
Certainly with the more recent stories, it's all over the place. You know.
And things I don't. My mind doesn't work that way. No, I like linear stories. It's when I watch all these sort of. Well, I don't watch them. The sort of shoot 'em up movies and all that sort of some big explosions. I don't care. Give me a narrative. I've got a good narrative. I don't. You can add other things to it, but I want a story that I can follow through and understand the relationships. And that's what I like. So I mean, my favourite era of things like the black and white film noir. In the 30s and 40s.
Oh yeah, we like a bit of that.
You know,
we do.
It's good stuff, you know. And consequently, I like Doctor Who in its simplest form. I thought the first stories and most of the stories I was in, I thought were great, and quite a lot of Patrick's. I thought were good, but then it just, as I say, when it got bogged down in units, I just lost interest in it. Yeah, where's this going? Not that they didn't do it well. No. And it looked good, and the directors were good, and but it wasn't for me.
Yeah. So what was it like being on set, you know, in the TARDIS and all that? Back then, before it went to colour and then HD and all that kind of thing. What was it like on set?
It was. I mean, we did the shows as live. It wasn't a show that was shot in segments, and we did it as if it was a live show.
Right.
So we had 6 cameras, we had 2 sound booms, because you didn't have radio mics in those days. You couldn't be mic'd individually. There was a boom with a long bar on it. That was the boom, which reached out to where people were, and there's a microphone on the end. If you're talking, it's there, and if you're talking, it's there, and there's an operator doing that, and then it's got to swing round and go there, and then the whole lot has to be moved to another part of the studio, to a different set. So, I mean, it was complicated stuff. Have you been to any of the panels?
Yes, we were there earlier on.
So I was explaining about what it said in that script of the first episode of The Celestial Toymaker that this guy had brought to be signed when I was over in Baltimore. It was extraordinary because you can see all of the planning that went into it, because every single shot in the entire episode is marked clearly where you cut to it, on words, on shot, whether it was a close-up, a medium close-up, a long shot, a wide shot, whether the camera was mounted on a tower, whether it was the crane camera, which was doing a panning shot, or whatever. They were all described on the script before we started in the studio. That had to be it. We had a shooting script, and it was every single shot, and they were shot in order. Every camera had its own shots, which when that shot's finished, the light's gone out, what's the next shot? Boom, right, we're moving back to so and so, move around, it's going to be, so we're in this shot, I'm doing a 2-shot, and my next shot's going to be a really big close-up of you, got to change your lens, come around.
Amazing.
It's all that is written down, it's all there, and that's what they work to. The production values were top class, absolutely top class.
Yeah, that's lost now, isn't it? That
it's not necessary, that's why it's lost, but I mean the quality of personnel and their skills was amazing at that time. It was a throwback to theatre, because television was still growing. It was still learning how to do it. It's why you have stage managers in television, floor managers. For a long time, they were stage managers.
That's really interesting. That's great.
Kind of to think that, but even back then, it was sort of like you would do it all like that. I never. Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't aware that it was filmed like that.
That's how it had to be.
Yeah. It takes a lot of mastery in the class to
Yeah, I mean, the people like Dougie Canfield, you can imagine, we did the Dalek Master Plan, which was 12 episodes, and every single one every shot was worked out. How many shots would there be in 12 episodes? Maybe 1,200, I don't know. And every single one, he knew precisely what it was, because that had to be there, because the vision mixer's reading a script and we're doing it live, so they're cutting to the points. What they do is edit. How you now do it with a single shot. You can give several versions of a single shot, and it's digital. You can do it. You can do as many shots as you like, but then that shot is edited to the next one. Well, they're doing it as it's happening.
Yeah.
Cutting between the shots. It's like live television now in a sport. You've got the director or the producer is sitting in the scanner, and the shots are coming in. He's got his finger pad in front of him with however many cameras he's got, and he cuts between the shots. He's got the monitors up there for each camera. He knows what he's cutting to. I'm going to that shot, coming in, and he tells the cameraman each time, coming to you 3. There's camera 3, 4 next. Go tighter 4. Yeah, I mean, that's how it works now, but that's how it worked then for drama, and it was amazing. Great experience. You asked what it was like in the studio, that's what it was like.
That's a good answer. That's a very good answer. Yeah. I'll tell you, the other thing we were talking about before was we're both huge Office fans.
All right, I only did one episode.
That's what we were going to ask you. Was the video that you did, was that one that you'd actually done properly, or did you?
We made it for that.
You did it, right.
I went out, did 2 hours work in Twickenham, and we made it.
Right, that's amazing.
We made it, I mean, obviously that was done in the edit as well, but it was made like a cheesy 1980s corporate video. That's what it was. That's what training films are like. Now I had a production company. We made videos like that. We used those sort of slide-ons,
I used to
all
work
those
in,
techniques and stuff.
I used to work in RBS, and you got videos like that every Wednesday morning.
Chris mentioned it, and I'm like, surely that's just something Gervais got from the pile. Like, it was already done.
Oh,
and it's like, I don't think it was. Like,
no, we made it. I mean, my hair was great when I did that. So we obviously the first shot, which is the back of my head, I think, and I thought, oh, that is me. I mean, my first thought was it couldn't be. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, the hair was. Luckily, I didn't have any wrinkles, so I didn't look my age. I mean, I'm getting on a bit now.
So, what was it like working with Ricky Gervais then?
Oh, it's very easy.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what he wants. Yeah. He knew the shots he wanted. He knew how he wanted me to play it. He said, "Don't try and be funny with it. Just do it."
Yeah.
So I just played it absolutely straight.
Yeah.
He said, basically, play yourself doing this video.
Yeah.
And that was it. Just a nudge at the end when she calls me, "Thanks very much, Mr. Noakes." Oh yeah, thanks, Ricky. But no, it was delightful. And I mean, I've got to be honest about it. I've made more money out of that single short bit than anything else I've done on television.
Right.
Apart from Croft's Dog Show, the DVD sales were absolutely massive. I mean, we're talking about tens of thousands, not hundreds.
Yeah.
And that was about 2 minutes on screen.
Not too bad at all.
Top whack in one episode.
And it's one of those things that Chris and I, as fans of that show, it's something that's always kind of stuck in our heads, the training day episode and that particular scene. So
it's a good episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good episode. No, I like him a lot. I mean, and I'd done his chat show. That's why I did it. He had a chat show that he did at the Trafalgar Theatre, Trafalgar Studios in Whitehall in London. I can't remember what it was called. I think he only did 6. He might have done 8. And I was one of his guests. I was there with Stephanie Powers on the only show I did of his. I mean, it was great. It was good fun. It was nice to do. When I left home, my wife said, "Don't take offence at anything." I said, "Well, why would I?" And I didn't. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I knew he was going to take the piss out of me, so it was never a problem.
Was that when he was part of the 11 o'clock show? Was that when he was part of the 11 o'clock show?
No, it was after that. After that, it was his own show, nothing to do with anything else. And I think it was on Channel 4. I don't think it was hugely successful. But I mean, it didn't need to be. He was established. He knew where he was going. And at that time, he'd written The Office, because I said to him, I was saying, what plans have you got to do next year? Well, I've got the sitcom idea. Which, and he didn't tell me what it was about. He said, I said, if there's a part in it for an old geek like me, I'd be really pleased to play it. And next thing I know, I got a phone call about 3-4 months later, and it was The Office, and that was what he'd done. He did say, he said, no, the BBC's already got it, and they're going to do it. I thought, oh, that's fantastic, congratulations. If there's a part in it for me, I'd love to do it. And he was as good as his word. He asked me to play myself, but that's cool. That didn't matter at all. So I was very pleased. I got on with him really well, liked him a lot. Very clever, very sharp, very good director, knows exactly what he wants. I mean, he created a style with The Office that no one had seen before. That was just so clever, and I think it was an absolute turning point in television comedy.
British TV definitely.
Yeah.
It was when I started to notice that, like, we were making good stuff before that, but that's when I started to notice how good British TV actually could be.
I think he's important, like Steve Coogan's important.
Yep.
Similar reasons.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of anyone else quite as important as them. Maybe she stopped working now, hasn't she? Gimme.
Kathy Burke.
Kathy Burke.
Oh yeah.
Was just a remarkable actress, and of course a tremendous director. She's given it up. I don't know if she's given up the directing, she's given up the acting. But I mean, there are people who have created seminal television that is just, it's right. That's good.
Well, that's that show's not going anywhere. That show's going to be shown forever.
Yeah. I mean, I can watch the Alan Partridge stuff over and over.
Oh yeah.
At the same time, he used me in a joke, which I was quite proud of, and I got told off on my CV from someone who said, "Why don't you mention the fact that you were in the Alan Partridge?" I said, "Well, I wasn't." He just used me as a joke, and it was a good joke, and I thought it was very funny. Yeah, that was fine.
Oh man, I love the Alan Partridge.
That's great. Yeah, that's going to be straight. Well, I think CDL's been taken, so we'll let you get on. But thank you very much.
I've got no plans. My next plans are dinner at 6:30. So nice talking to you guys.
You too, absolutely.
Give my love to Berwick and the border country.
Certainly will.
You know what it is? The amount of people that when we say we're from Berwick, I look at the town, it's kind of like, it's like a bit forgotten town, but the amount of people that we're speaking to down here, they say, oh, I know Berwick, we're from Berwick, like, I've got a family in Berwick. It's like,
yeah. It was a big family I had up in Northumberland. My mother was born in Jesmond. She was the fifth of a family of eight kids. Anyway, nice talking to you.
Absolutely, thank you very much.
Cheers,
thank
guys.
You again.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this is very cool. So how are you enjoying Wales?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I've never been here before, but the people are really friendly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was sort of expecting there are certain small towns, like if you go to certain small towns in Canada or the States or whatever, like if we go on a road trip or something, you go through a small town. There are some towns in the middle of the continent where it's just not a very diverse population or whatever, and like people just they're very kind of wary of things that are different, right? And I feel it going through there. It's kind of like, everyone's kind of looking at me funny kind of thing. But and I was thinking that Wales would be somewhat that way because it's sort of a smaller population or whatever, and a bit of an isolated area. But it's totally, I've not seen that at all. It seems like everyone here is actually very friendly and really just open to whoever. If you're
very much. Wales is definitely.
Yeah.
I've not been to Wales that often, but when I have been here, it's everybody wants to know you.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
Even though I'm nobody.
Right.
It's like
yeah. No, it's great.
Mad. Like it is mad.
That's good though. That's what you want.
Yeah. Definitely mad.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So is this your first sort of con type event or?
No, I've been to I don't know. Dozens.
Yeah.
Been to a bunch of events, but none that are like this. Like I've never been to one that's at a park like this.
It's a different one for us as
yeah,
well.
yeah. It's very unique. Yeah.
So we tend to go for the day, but this is like when they said to us that it's the full weekend and you have to come and you have to stay at the park, and it was like, what?
Yeah. It's full on. Yeah.
It is just like a 4-day rave.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much. That's exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk Doctor Who then.
Sure.
Yeah. Kev's not as big a Doctor Who fan as I am, but I love the TV movie.
Cool.
That was actually what got me into Doctor Who before the Eccleston.
Oh wow!
One.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I mean, so like the first question was the Masters, the Cobra, sort of thing.
Yep,
that creeped the hell out of me.
Yeah, it was creepy.
So what was involved in shooting scenes with that?
So it was the very early.
It was a Cobra, by the way. It was like a Cobra. That's what doesn't matter.
Full disclosure, I'm not a master.
Nah, it's okay. No, it's all good. I don't expect everybody to be.
That's why he's on the podcast.
Yeah, right. Fair enough. It was the early days of CGI, the computer generated stuff or whatever. It was fairly early on in the days of doing that. So what they would do is they would do a lock. They would lock the camera off on a certain, they would have the frame of what they wanted to capture in there, and they would lock the camera off, so they'd like put things on it so it wouldn't move and everything like that, and they would roll some film, and that's what they would be able to overlay this CGI on top of, and then they would have, or they might do it in reverse order, but they would have the actor go into the scene and do their bit, and then later on they could essentially like overlay the two on top of each other and be able to have add.
Oh, yeah.
It's come a long way.
Yeah, so it's come a long way, exactly. So the process essentially is you're doing the scene, They do the master stop so they can figure out sort of approximately what it's all going to look like and where you're going to be, and then you do this lock. They lock the camera and you do this one bit that, and then you step out and then they film nothing going on in that same scene, and then later on they mix it all together essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's really the process. So the process for the Cobra was just like that.
Yeah.
Eric had to act like there was a Cobra, entering his body.
Yeah, it was his mouth, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then it was a bit sick. Yeah.
Well, I don't like snakes. I don't do snakes.
They wanted it to be a bit disgusting in some way, right? Like so. And
for things like that going into people's mouths, it just creeps me.
No, it is creepy. It is totally creepy.
It could be going into ears. I'm fine with that. Eyes. I'm fine with that. Mouths. No.
I don't think I like any orifice being penetrated by any kind of reptile. Thanks very much.
I'll give you that.
But we're not judging, Kev. We're not judging.
Yeah.
All right. So you still deserve me. I'll just shut up now.
So, Paul McCann. So what was it like working with Paul McCann and Paul McCann's Doctor in particular?
Yeah, I didn't work with Paul as much until we got into the studio parts. The studio parts, like inside the TARDIS, is where we mostly all work together. Whereas a lot of the other stuff, we were chasing them, so we would be filming in separate locations than they were, right? But as I've gotten to know Paul over the years, he's a really interesting guy, and he's got that he's got the kind of energy that can lead a show. That's for sure. He would have made a series. He would have done well as a Doctor doing a whole series if they had gone that way.
He only did the TV movie.
He only did the TV movie. He came back very, very briefly for the 50th.
Yeah.
Which was great to see him back.
Be able to do the regeneration.
Yeah. That was good to see him back in there. He was a good Doctor. I don't think he gets enough recognition for it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, just because the length of the run, I think. But since I've gotten to know him, he's a really intelligent guy. I was talking about this on a panel. He's kind of this encyclopedia of culture. He's told. I'll sit. It was just the last convention I was at. I sat at the airport with him for like an hour, and he just full of stories about different different plays or different actors and their stories and the history of theater and film and just all this stuff. He's like music too. Really interesting guy. You could talk to the guy for probably months on end, and he wouldn't run out of things to tell you about culture and society and history and stuff. So.
Did you ever just want to go, I'll sleep tonight knowing that?
Sorry?
I'll sleep tonight knowing that.
Yeah, right, yeah. I mean, it's... you meet a lot of interesting people anyway, and it's nice. It's nice to...
Yeah. So did you do any of the audio... audio tales of Paul McCann?
Well, I didn't do the Paul McGann Big Finish. Well, yeah, I didn't actually do something with Paul on Big Finish, but they do have storylines that probably intermingle with Paul's stuff or whatever. Yeah, but I've never actually been in the audio recording studio with him.
Right.
Yeah. but maybe one day.
Yeah, I've heard that the Paul McCann, what do you call them, books? Are they books or are they just audio plays kind of thing?
Yeah.
I've heard that they are very, very good.
Yeah,
Paul McCann.
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never gotten around to listening to those ones, but I've heard they're very, very good. So the TARDIS set, we were speaking to Peter about basically the layout of the TARDIS and the complicated process of filming.
Right.
Back when he was on the show, and he said basically that wasn't same. He said basically they filmed it as if it was a live play from start to finish, like a linear play.
Yep.
So what was it like? Obviously it's different because it's a TV movie, but
different for the It was shot more like a Hollywood thing. They had a decent budget. The sets were...
You could tell that. You could tell there was a budget behind it.
The sets were huge. The sets were probably the most remarkable thing about that show. They had very skilled carpenters and set designers working on this. And, when you walked into this thing, it was the size of it and the way they had done it. They had these, gas-lit, fire things and, these stained glass windows with huge beams of light streaming through it and smoke everywhere, and I mean they really went all the way with the sets, and it was the way that they shoot. We did about 85. I was talking about this earlier today as well, but we did about 85 or 90 minutes. It's about a page a minute when you're making a film or TV show, and usually with TV. Nowadays with some of the Netflix stuff, it might be different. But you usually back then with TV, you're trying to get about 4 to 8 minutes per day. That's how much you were trying to shoot. So you're trying to shoot through 4 to 8 pages worth of stuff every day. Some shows you would do more even. You would try to squeeze in more than that, and it gets quite difficult to do that. But if you have a lower budget, you don't have a choice. And then other shows, you may have the luxury of going a little bit less than that. On this one, it ended up to be about 3 minutes a day. So we were just in that sweet spot of we had a little bit more time than TV, than regular TV. I say regular, there's no regular, but not quite as much time as, say, a feature film, which might have, a $50 million budget, and they might shoot a minute a day kind of thing, right? This was sort of in between, but it was still very lavish considering, the time it was made and the fact that it was going for TV. So a different experience than I think Peter has been talking about.
He's basically saying it's like doing a play.
Yeah. There are still, you still have some hard days, quote unquote hard. There's days where you're on set for 18 hours. There's a lot of waiting in between. It's a different kind of challenge. It's a different sort of problem. The kind of problem you're facing if you're doing the kind of filming that Peter's talking about is that you're on. You've got that one take. You've got to get it. You need to be prepared. You go on there. You do it, and there's no stopping, basically, right? Whereas for us, there's a bit of a luxury of if you mess it up one time, you might get to do it again. But there's also the other side of it is that because they're doing that, there's all these gaps where you're not doing anything. They're setting up, they're lighting, they're turning the angles around, they're doing all kinds of different things. There's a problem that happened that wasn't anything to do with you. And let's say you did a great take, but you're just having to repeat it because something else went wrong. And so then you've got a different set of problems, really, a different challenge. Do you need something? What is it? What's the thing? What is it? You're on tape, by the way. This is going to be on the radio. What do you need to ask?
Okay, bye.
What is it? No, what is it? What?
You're going to be
You're
famous
here now. You're here now. Everyone wants to know what your question is. All the audience is going to be sitting on the edge of their seat. What is Yee Jee's daughter going to ask him? What? Come on, do it. Okay, I'm going to go back to... where was I? It was... anyway, different kinds of problems. It's just different, basically. I don't know if you'd say it was harder or easier or whatever.
So were you aware or were you a fan of Doctor Who before you made the TV?
Well, when I was growing up, my parents were working late most days. and I lived in a little sort of part of Vancouver that was a bus ride away. So essentially, I would go home, and I was what they used to call a latchkey kid. I would kind of let myself in the door. My grandmother was there, but she didn't speak the same language, so I was it was essentially kind of like being by myself. So I turned the TV on, and I just left it on, and did my homework in front of the TV, and ate my dinner in front of the TV, and all that kind of stuff. And then, and Doctor Who was one of the shows that was on. So I kind of remember the Tom Baker era as a small part of this like wall of television that was on in the background while I kind of just lived my life. So I knew about Doctor Who. I couldn't really tell you anything about the stories, the plot lines, or anything like that, but I knew about it.
So when the role came along, how did you hear about it and get it? How did you...
Yeah, so what happens is I have an agent, and what they do is there's this complicated, it seems like this overly complicated system. There are casting directors. The casting directors in each city are hired by the production, wherever the production is going to shoot or wherever they need actors in a specific location. They'll hire a casting director. And the casting director is responsible for getting submissions from agents or from wherever and selecting from all of those submissions a few actors that are going to be taped for like a first round of auditions. Yeah. And so my agent would have submitted me for the casting call. And then the casting director, Trish Robinson, she's great. I'm not sure what she's doing now, but she was really sweet. She would have said, okay, yeah, we'll see Yee Jee as one of them. So then, there'd be maybe 20 of us doing the first pass. And then she would go through the tapes, and then they do a callback. And the callback might have somebody like the director or a producer from the show present to kind of watch. And then they did a third set of auditions where they had all the network people, and it was like a table of people. And that was the one. It was just down to two of us at that point, myself and this other guy, Edmund. And he's quite good too. He would have done a great job, but I was lucky they gave it to me.
There you go. And you're happy for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, you're from Vancouver. Mm-hmm. You keep mentioning them. Arrow and Flash and all that are kind of filmed in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Did I see on your IMDb you've been in Arrow?
Yep, I played a role in Arrow. It was just for a couple of days. I can't remember if I was there for a day or two, but it was, I was this guy getting interrogated by Arrow. I think I can talk about it now that the show's aired. But I was getting interrogated by Arrow, and figuratively by Arrow, and literally by Arrow.
Also, did you get told you'd failed the city?
Sorry? Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because I know everybody wants.
Yeah.
You want to be told.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So what was that like being on the set of Arrow and stuff?
Yeah, it was neat.
Like another big show. Obviously, Doctor Who's a big show.
Yep.
Arrow's a huge show right now.
Yep.
So was that like just insane? Or?
Yeah, it was really interesting meeting all the people there. Nice folks, It's quite a serious show. It's got that sort of dark.
Very DC.
It's very it really has that dark kind of feel to it. So it's a different sort of feeling, not necessarily like. I wouldn't say it was a joyous set, but I don't think it's like that, like by accident. I think it needs to be like that, for the kind of show that it is. A friend of ours actually works on Flash as the truck costume, and it has a slightly different feel to it because it's not quite as dark. Yeah, because it's Flash, exactly.
And what's I'm gonna have to ask, what's Stephen Amell like?
Yeah, he seemed alright to work with. I mean, I didn't, he seemed accommodating enough. He was a good guy. I mean, he's reminds me of sort of a brooding kind of guy, like he's got something going on, and I think that's why they cast him for that, because Arrow is kind of that troubled hero kind of thing, like the damaged hero, and I think he's got some of that going on. Like he plays that very well. So. And the time that I was working with him, we were on set, and he was like in character kind of thing, and so I wouldn't say that it was easy to engage with somebody who's in that space, right? And it wasn't like sort of getting into idle chit chat kind of thing with the guy, but he was quite accommodating. There was my the company that I worked for a software development company, and the guy that I worked for, his son was a huge Arrow fan, and I had found this out, and so and it was his birthday when I was on set, so I got a bunch of the cast members to kind of sign a little thing for him, and you know, Steve was quite accommodating and signed it as well. So you know, I'm nice enough guy. I'm sure under different circumstances we might have sat around and had some chit chat, but you know, just in that case we weren't really doing that.
Right, I think we'll let you go and entertain your daughter.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Honestly, thank you very much.
It was nice to have a chat. Yeah.
You too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Crisis for the geek kind. Top geek officials admit they underestimated the hipsters' defense capability. Join the geek revolution and save the galaxy. Geeks from all over the globe are joining up to fight for the future. They're doing their part. Are you? Want to know more? Join Weeby Geeks and the Geek Revolution and save the world. Service guarantees citizenship. Listen to Weeby Geeks podcast on iTunes and Stitcher or online at weebygeeks.net. Weeby Geeks, your voice for the Geek Revolution. Want to know more?
You enjoy that?
I did enjoy that. You know what? It's a bit of a shame because it feels like it was like months ago that we did those.
I know.
It does feel like such a long time ago that we did those interviews.
We've both gone through the post SFW blues.
Yeah, but to be fair, we're not the only ones, because when you go on the Facebook forum that everybody's in that little group, a lot of people are getting the Facebook blues, the SFW blues. That's a good idea for an episode as well. Yes, so everybody's feeling it.
Yeah, I think it's very much just a case of the weekend is so intense when there's so much happening, and it's just a nirvana for people like us, sort of geeks. That's not a derogatory term. It's a term that we accept and love. But it's just such an awesome experience. And then you come back to little old Berwick, which, you know, bless it. But you come back to a little bit old Berwick.
Bless it.
You go back to work and you open your goddamn spreadsheet and you go.
And you go to work with people who are not geeks, people who don't get you, and it's just shit. No, but like when we first got there to SFW and we saw everybody walking around in the cosplay and all that, I have to admit, I've not done cosplay. You've not done cosplay.
No. I kind of have.
All right, go on then.
Well, half have.
Did you dress up like Grado?
I did not dress up like Grado. I dressed up as the Punisher.
When?
For a thing at Foxton's like 2 years
that
ago.
That does not count. It was in Berwick, bless it, so that does not count.
Okay. Well, to be fair, my Punisher costume was a Punisher t-shirt, black jeans, and 2 handguns. So
it's not really a costume.
It's a bit Punisher-y.
Yeah, I suppose.
Although to be fair, it's more effort than Paul Byrne put into it, as you can imagine.
Newcastle top.
Pretty much.
Yeah. That's pretty much all I would expect from
I've
Paul
come with
Byrne.
Alan Shearer.
Yeah. Or Peter Ramage, who apparently is from Berwick.
Okay.
But yeah.
Anyway.
So anyway, like I was saying, like we kind of got there, and I'm not going to say that I felt out of my depth, but in this town, we do this podcast. We're huge film fans and all that. Some people call me a geek or a nerd or anything like that, and I kind of got to SFW and thought, am I really a geek or a nerd though? Because I feel a little bit out of my depth here, you know. But then as I eased into the weekend and I realised I was at home with my people, it was like, yeah, this is where I should be. Mm-hmm. It's exactly where I should be. Not in Berwick, bless it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fantastic weekend, and I just want to say it again to everybody who's behind everything, getting everything going, making everything run smoothly. You might not be listening, but if you are, yous all did an absolutely bang up, fantastic job, and we hope to come back next year.
We do hope to come back next year, and thank you to everybody who's who participated in the interviews on this. Fucking epic episode of 365 Flicks.
I think
is this like a record for us? The most interviews in one episode?
I think it is, but it's worth it.
Oh yeah,
yeah. The interviews themselves run in at like a cool hour.
It'll be fine.
Actually, no, it's way more than that. So yeah, I mean, if you've stuck with it and you've got to this part of the podcast, thank you. Like, you're a bunch of troopers. Again, if you want to hear the first part where we talk about some of the other things that we did, the dark room guy that we went to see, which was fantastic, and people just cannot stop talking about.
Yeah, it looked like we were going to get him, but he said he was up for it and then just kind of went dark.
Well, that could possibly be part 3.
I think he's maybe asleep in a dark room right now.
Possibly.
That could be what it
is. If he awakes in the dark room.
He's been on his Facebook, and it does seem like he's very, very busy. So.
Oh, Christ, yeah, I would imagine so, because it was an awesome show. But
so we will try and get that.
We will endeavour, and if it happens, it will be part 3. You will get a part 3. So yeah, everybody, thank you so much for sticking in and listening to this episode. Go back, listen to episode 70 as well. Tom and Mike's interview with them too, that was fantastic. We had a blast. The whole weekend was great. I feel like I'm just saying it for the sake of saying it now.
No, you're not.
So would you like to say goodbye to the people?
Yes, goodbye, you awesome people.
See you all later. Hopefully next year.